I'm Chris Schnee, and I write science fiction and fantasy. I also play tabletop role-playing games, and I've been doing a series of solo role-playing campaigns in various settings. This time I'm using Rules of God, a game from the same family and author as the others I've shown off. This is a post-apocalypse world, but there are no rusty factories this time. The year is 710. The place, the Kingdom of East Anglia, abandoned by the fall of the Roman Empire. In this version of history, the Romans left behind pocket dimensions in their ruins. Monsters like Grendel lurk in the dark, and saints compete with pagan sorcerers. For this adventure, I've designed a minster, a monastery, using the game's random tables. So, Oswald, Brother Titus, and Wulfred meet in a minster. Its name is Mossminster, on the east coast of Britain, in a once-proud monastery that's been crippled by fire. Nearly 200 monks live mainly in wooden buildings and thatched shacks now, divided into the more scholarly sort and the lesser monks who are a little different from the churls, the peasant farmers. And forgive me for butchering all the pronunciations, I'm sure. Mossminster has a problem. While it's wealthy in terms of the gold and other fine resources it has, the previous abbot got them in a dishonest way. He thought he could get something for nothing. He encountered an evil book that allowed him to summon a demon, one that demanded only small sacrifices from him in return for crafting fine things. In temptation, and a result of his wickedness, the monastery was burned down. Most of the monks survived, and they were able to keep most of the treasure, but the place now has an evil reputation. The abbot himself has conveniently died and been replaced by a hopefully more honest man. So he is seeking to rebuild the place and restore its reputation as a center of learning with a fine library. However, their most immediate problem is that the evil book has been stolen away. There was a greedy man who learned of its power and took it for himself. Now there's a need for someone capable to go and fetch it, and to hunt down whoever is responsible. And that brings us to our heroes. Oswald and Wulfred are both warriors by trade. They've come here on their own journeys. Oswald is a minor official, a reeve, coming here to investigate the troubles on behalf of his noble ruler. There aren't really kings here so much as local tribal chieftains who have trustworthy, capable men to work for them. Wulfred, on the other hand, is more of an independent warrior, who's more interested in opportunities for plunder and monster slaying. His real ambition in life is to find a werewolf and kill it. He has a bit of a wolfy reputation himself. Showing up at the monastery without any prior reputation is not a good way to get in. However, it so happens there's an elderly monk here who said he had a prophetic dream about these two. Few people pay these dreams much heed, but there also is a saint here. Brother Titus, that's where he comes in. He's known as a saint in terms of formal class because he has actual miraculous power, or rather he has access to that power. Brother Titus listens to the dream, and he suspects that these two are worth following around. He convinces the new abbot, Egrid, to tell them about this vile book that's gone missing, and he asks them to fetch it so that it may be destroyed. The warriors are looking for something exciting to do. They swear that they will hunt down the book's keeper and see it destroyed. Titus prays that it may succeed. He comes along. They have food and water along. Hard bread, cheese, water. They believe that the thief is located in Titchwell Marsh, around 6 miles northeast, along the coast. But where exactly? That's a large area to search. There are some small secluded Roman ruins in this land, and those are the most obvious places to search. So the party sets out into the wilderness. They make a notice check, trying to find that, and they get a mediocre roll, enough to say that they have some useful lead, but don't find it immediately. So what they find is a lone ruined building with a campfire burning. They approach it warily, calling out, because there are several men's voices, and this doesn't seem like a thief's lair. It's also custom in this land to call out when you are traveling through the wilderness and not on a main road, so that you identify yourself as not being a thief or anything like that. However, this place that they've just found is the den of several bandits. It looks like there are 3 of them. Their initial reaction is neutral to slightly positive, given that Oswald has a reputation as a peace weaver. He is someone who's good at making a good first impression. So they come upon 3 armed, hard-looking men living in the swamp. It's suspicious. Oswald thinks they're probably brigands, but they're not immediately hostile. Titus greets them in the name of God and explains that he's looking for a demon with a man hiding around here. How do they react to that? Actually, quite unpleasantly. These men are utterly unhelpful, immediately suspicious. Maybe they're in league with the villain. They say, if there were such a man, only a fool would go looking for him. Oswald steps in now, and he says, nothing good can come of traffic with demons, except for one thing. If there were such an evil man around here, he might have valuables on him that no one could complain about taking from him, right? Oswald is somewhat more persuasive. The brigands whisper among themselves, and their leader says, If we had some hint of where to find such a man, that would be worthy of a gift, wouldn't it? Oswald says, I swear that if you tell me, and it helps, each of you is owed a worthy gift from me or my companions. How useful is the information they have or offer? Actually, very useful. The bandits have been there before, and they know the exact place to look. The bandits and the heroes exchange a vow of non-violence between themselves, and a promise from Brother Titus to use his crafting skills to help mend some satchel they have. They're able to spend the night camped nearby in safety, and nobody harms anyone else. So, the next morning, they set out further into the swamp. There's a barrow, an old burial mound, one of many undulations along the coast. It is not marked by anything, but the heroes now know how to get there. They find it late in the morning. Our dark entrance looms. Oswald peeks in. With a successful notice roll, he spots a simple trap just inside, a set of stones meant to clatter and make noise. From there, what happens? It looks like this is a single-room area, a small burial place that has been made into someone's home. Now, is the thief actually here? Looks like a strong yes. So he's here, and so is the demon. What is his reaction? Neutral to slightly negative. Is the demon here in a human form right now? Yes. So the heroes come here. They spot the trap at the entrance. Looks like there are two men inside. One is a greasy, unkempt man who is cutting meat with a knife. The other one is watching him, small and furtive, giving off a smell like rotten fish. The two of them look up in surprise at the three intruders. Who darkens my door? Says the meat man. Oswald says, We are errand runners in search of a lost item. Perhaps you found it. Titus doesn't go along with the lead, and he rashly makes the accusation, You have sinned, and we have come to seek your repentance. Oswald grimaces at this. The little man who's been watching them says, All men are sinners, are they not? Come now, sit and talk. Wilfred sizes the little man up, sensing that there's more to him. We can talk with spears in hand, though the Holy One here has trouble with that. Titus presses on. May I know your name? He asked the man with the knife. I would pray with you. The cutting man is a little surprised. I'm Pendwine, and I've done nothing wrong. It's you who barged into my home. Swear to do no harm to me, or leave now. The fish-scented man says, You heard him. Would you start violence in another man's house? Oswald ignores him. Since Titus has tipped his hand already, why dance around the topic? You have a book that doesn't belong to you, Pendwine, and you'll be returning it one way or another on behalf of Mossminster. The meat-cutting man looks back at some shiny things that glitter in the back of the cave. What, so that only the monks can have these things? Why should it be just them? Why not me? Why shouldn't I get something for nothing? Oswald says, We'll see this book destroyed in their presence, so that all know that it's gone. But the small fish-smelling man tells his companion, See, they want to steal it and make you poor. They want you to suffer. Penniless, an outcast again. You're already starting to be somebody, to matter. You don't want to give that up, do you? Wilfred puts in, Oh, you mean he'd be giving up his friendship with those three bandits who told us where he is? Pendwine is startled by this. They sent you? They did it? Oswald says, The abbot did, really. They helped. Now bring out that book. And as for you, other man... The fishy man hisses. You have no right to that. Get out. You would impoverish him. Tell them, Pendwine. You must cast them out. Tell this priest to leave, now. It's for your own good. Titus is apparently the last one to figure out that this fish-spilling man is not an ordinary human. He goes wide-eyed at this, and he says to the meat cutter, Your soul is in peril, Pendwine, as is your life. You can make a fresh start if you renounce the devil's power and willingly... No, says the demon. He comes closer to the spearman, but apparently he's unable to attack yet. Pendwine goes pale, seeing that he's probably going to die in a moment if he doesn't give up. He throws himself at Titus's feet, saying, I renounce it! Save me, brother! The fishy man snarls, and his skin splits to show scales beneath. His knees seem to reverse. Jets of blood stream from his brow as his eyes bulge out of their sockets. None can save you now, fool! Battle begins. The battle is already half won, because Pendwine has been talked into being a non-combatant. That just leaves the demon. This guy is rated as a lesser demon with 4 hit dice, and a double claw attack. Ulfric howls with glee as he rushes in to stab the demon and bash with his heavy shield. The broad-headed spear he uses skitters off a scaly hide. Seeing this, Oswald drops his spear and slashes with his sax, a heavy knife. It cuts demon flesh, but only as a glancing blow. Titus calls forth God's rebuke, a miracle that can strike supernatural foes. It's effective. A bolt of light erupts from the saint's hands and boils demon flesh away. Hell's minion desperately slashes with his claws at the two men in front, batters their shields aside, and closes in to slash them, but the two men are professional warriors who know how to take a blow. They're bruised a bit and angry. Wulfric fights back with his own sax, eager for the kill. He misses entirely, grows angry that Oswald might deliver the final blow, and rams the heavy blade through the demon's throat. It gurgles and crumbles into damp earth and sulphur smoke. On the floor, Penguin trembles. Titus pats the man's head. "It's done now, praise be. Now, what about that book?" Wulfric says, "How about what we owe the bandits?" Titus tells him, "I won't rob this man to pay them." Wulfric rubs his bruises. "Robbery? Oswald, pray some sense into this man." As their eyes recover from the prayer flash, they can see that Penguin has a small treasure hoard. Titus says, "Let us give thanks for the victory." They pray for having survived a battle with a demon. Penguin reluctantly joins in and asks for mercy. Penguin confesses that he has the vile book that the party has been seeking. It's actually an old scroll that makes the saint's fingers tingle at the touch. The man says, "I used it to call for the demon. I don't think it's dead forever. While that book exists, do you know what it actually says?" Titus blinks. "This is in Latin. Did you use it without knowing how to read it?" "I can read some English, sir. It was enough to sound out the words." Titus reads, "The vile book is a contract in Latin, promising something for nothing, almost." Titus says, "It promises a servus, what we English call a thrall or slave." "Yes, sir. The demon, I mean, it knew how to make things out of fog and fish and dirt and driftwood, and they were real things, solid as any other, fine quality." "And in return, what did you do?" "Favors," admits Penguin. Everyone looks at that meat that's fallen to the floor that he was cutting. Penguin holds up his hands and insists, "It's goat, not man. I killed a goat. The favors are just little things, an offering here, a word whispered here and there." Oswald leans on his spear to loom over Penguin, saying, "We're going to want to telling exactly of where and what you've been whispering." "I'll confess, on God's honor." "And the treasure?" says Wulfric. There's an account of exactly what treasure this man has. And it's pretty lucky. This man is prosperous. 3 casks of mead sit next to a stack of 20 copper ingots. A crude chest holds a fortune in the form of 6 silken robes. None of it has magically vanished. It all seems to be real. Penguin fingers a dented, near-ruined copper brooch that he wears. Oswald says, "What's that? Something else made by your demon thrall?" "No, it was my grandfather's." Brother Titus says, "You all have the wrong idea. This infernal contract here doesn't promise you a demon thrall. The one who's owned is the man, not the demon. Trying to get endless wealth for nothing makes you a pet at best, a pet of the devil." The anguished man says, "Must I give everything up?" Titus says, "I come from Mossminster, where we lost most of our homes, but kept what ill-gotten wealth we could salvage from the fire. It helped us keep going and taught us a lesson." Penguin makes his decision. "Half, then. Take half, between you and the minster, and find me honest work there. I know how to cut and carry stone, by trade. Maybe I can be useful, at least." This treasure is heavy, weighing the heroes down, even with Penguin's help. They would have liked to get past the bandits first, then come back with gifts, but it seems the 3 have been watching. Unfortunately for them, the group isn't substantially wounded, and is fresh from demon slaying. So when they meet, the heroes aren't easy prey. Instead, the heroes offer the bandits a cask of mead and 2 bright copper ingots tied up with string. These are a few of their favorite things. And so, the heroes return to the monastery, hauling the treasure. At the minster, the party brings a vile book to the abbot, brings in several other high-ranking monks, and several of the churls, the peasant folk, to witness. With these witnesses watching, the infernal document gets burned, giving off a strange violet smoke that sinks into the ground. Penguin, the thief, petitions to help the minster with his masonry skills. He offers his remaining silk as a very valuable gift. In return, it's understood that he will not only be forgiven, but well taken care of, and allowed to keep the mead and copper he still has. The silk isn't total loss for him either, because the plan is to use that to fund construction work that he'll be involved in. It will also help build another hamlet of cottages to bring more land under cultivation. As for the heroes, the abbot calls them in again. Their half of the treasure haul consists of a cask of mead, 9 copper ingots, and 3 very valuable silken robes. In theory, this hoard is worth 7,292 shillings, so the abbot puts it up on the auction website and... oh wait, there aren't any shops. There isn't a reliable shipping service. Hardly anyone can even afford a silk robe. So what do you do with this sort of thing when you can't easily swap it for a pile of gold pieces? The abbot says, I think you should carry the silk to the port of Gippiswick, there to gift it to the Frankish merchants on our behalf. We have these 3 silk robes that are our share, and you have the other 3 that are yours. You have nothing better to do with them, I assume. Now, Gippiswick is one of the most prosperous trading towns in all of England, with over 1,000 people there to sell foreigners English cattle, grain, and slaves. It's easier to reach than the larger port called Londonwick to the southwest, but it still takes a journey across dozens of miles of monsters and bandits, all to sell a wardrobe of fine clothing for something that an ambitious minster and some wandering adventurers can actually use. The abbot is keeping his share of the copper for now. To encourage the heroes to make the trip and help reward their service so far, he gives Oswald and Wulfric each a finely engraved copper bracelet. The nominal value of each is 60 shillings, but what this really does for the 2 warriors is gives them splendor. Wearing these shiny things really gives them social standing and confidence that will make them more effective in battle. Brother Titus doesn't benefit from jewelry, but he does get a good new pair of boots for travel and a jar of good ink. He wants to come along because it will help the minster, and he has experience with foreigners and trade. The heroes restock on food and water, rest for a day or 2, and set out on their next trip together. It'll be a shopping trip. Should be fun, right? In terms of experience, everyone has reached level 2. They have done a mighty deed and defeated a strong foe, something that brings glory to warriors. As for the saint, he risked danger to convert to heathen and aid the minster. None of them did anything shameful according to their class. They kept their word and behaved honorably, while the saint didn't do anything that violated his religious principles, such as striking out against a human. So each of the 3 goes stronger, and this is the end of their first adventure. What did I think of this game? The rule system was certainly familiar after playing Worlds Without Number and its closely related games. The power level of these characters is low, and I generally like mighty characters. This party consisted of standard level 1 heroes, no special heroic rules like I've used in some games to make one character especially mighty. I used 2 of the warrior class, which in this game is both the fighter and the skill expert, plus 1 saint. The third main option is the Galderman, which I didn't use. The Galderman is a spellcaster who's not evil, but is always considered sketchy. An interesting thing about magic in this game is that nobody is slinging mystic fireballs or anything like that. Brother Titus here used a power called Rebuke the Wicked, which can only directly blast supernatural foes. The Galderman class doesn't have even that much direct offense, and his spells are more like Bless a Field, Cure Sick Cattle, and Empower an Ally's attacks. Things that might be relevant on an adventure, but require more creativity than just Fireball. And the Saint is not allowed to hit human beings at all, ever. In a way, I was going easy on the party by having 1 demon without combat-relevant powers. I'm not sure how they'd survive a more serious fight. So far, they slew a demon and made a heathen repent with the power of God plus 2 heavily armed men. This game has rules for cattle raids and ritual feasts, which I haven't gotten to try yet. There's also another rule about characters having fate, which can save them from death 3 times, if the story can at all justify it. And there's another rule about terrible lasting injuries. All this and the system of glory and shame help to define the setting and make it not generic fantasy. It's also a deeply religious setting in which miracles and demons are real, with lots of material about designing adventure monasteries. Oh, and I didn't even show off the part about generating magical Roman ruins yet. One thing I need to criticize is that there's no official character sheet, nor even a fan-made one that I'm happy with. You'd think that I could adapt the one from Worlds or Stars Without Number, which I've done before, but this game is different enough that that wouldn't work very well, and what I've got are thrown together and kind of shoddy looking. I'm somewhat out of my comfort zone with this one, because it's a low magic setting closely based on a grim period of real history. As noted, this is not a world where you can easily sell loot for gold coins. The default assumption is that eventually you're all going to get sacked by French Vikings in the year 1066. It feels like your characters won't make much of an impact on the setting because the main thing you can hope for is to own a lot of cattle, maybe run a tiny fiefdom, and die gloriously. You're not building a miraculous factory with mechanical looms, or convincing villagers to get transformed into rat people to rebuild an underground colony, or saving the world in general. You are living and dying in 8th century England, and it's not going to change much in your lifetime. Now, maybe your characters can do something heroic and change it, but it still feels like you're not going to radically change the setting no matter what you do. Probably. So the experience is different for me, not just from my usual games, but from living in the modern world where technological progress is a strong assumption. Because the setting is so grounded in an early medieval society, it would feel weird and anachronistic to try introducing the printing press centuries early, or to convince people to have elections or ban slavery or any other alien concept like that. But hey, it's good to roleplay something in an unfamiliar culture. Wolves of God stands out as being less of the theme park version of history than we normally see, where 1,000 years of history across a whole continent get thrown into a blender and then filtered to avoid offending today's modern barbarians. This rulebook is written in character as a translated manuscript by a nerdy medieval monk, writing centuries before even the Canterbury Tales. So it's not only an interesting world to visit, but a fun document to read, and it has me thinking about how it was that this fairly stagnant society got turned into something very different. I had a good time then, going from imagining fighting demons to thinking about real history and geography. Wolves of God is worth a look. That's it for now. I'm Chris Schnee, signing off. Here are some of my books. Until next time.